Alright folks, after taking a week off and what seemed like forever, King Ohja is finally back with episode 36, Himeno's matchmaking strategy. And much like the previous episode, this episode didn't rely on a big fight scene where our characters morphed, except near the end. It didn't rely on heavy mech battles. It relied on character focused driven moments, and that's something that I'm really liking with these Take Back the Kingdom story arc episodes we're getting, because these episodes are focusing on the rulers, but not only that, they're focusing on their servants, they're focusing on the people who stand beside them, as episode 35 focused on Yanma and Shishikara, or Shirikara I believe their name was, I probably butchered that one. This one focused on Himeno and Sebastian, and I really enjoyed this episode. If I had one main sort of like gripe with this episode, it's the pacing of this episode felt like it dragged on in the first half until you get to the big reveal at the end of the episode that you kind of knew that was coming. So the whole premise of this episode is Himeno is doing this sort of matchmaking thing where if you marry her, you're going to wed her. So you have all the King Ohjas show up, and Himeno says, oh, all of you guys are going to participate in this marriage selection, along with this mystery character that is called Romain Dearborn. And this character is a big mystery. He looks like Nia from Death Note. So that character is a big old mystery. And in this episode, you've sort of got these hijinks going on where they're trying to sort of like dance with Himeno, but then Himeno's trying to poison them as they're dancing, and you get some fun character silly moments in this episode. But the big twist for this episode that it's actually Kamijin who is taking the role of Himeno, disguising himself as Himeno in this episode, while Himeno is locked in her own dungeon, and most of the important people that serve her have been poisoned along with Himeno herself. So Kajijim's whole goal in this episode is to sort of do this whole wedding thing while poisoning the other rangers. But while this is going on, you've got the mystery character Romain Dearborn trying to intervene and sort of saving the day at the last minute. Now, this episode did have some fun moments in there. You had Yanma trying to dance with like Himeno. I say Himeno with quotation marks, but he gets all nervous and flustered, and then Jeremy sort of puppeteers him and makes him move around all robotically. That was like a really fun moment in this episode. Once again, Yanma's actor has a lot of charisma and carries a lot of comedy scenes that he's in, just with his performance and just his attitude that he's got in this episode. Now, I mentioned that this episode felt a little slow, and I feel like the reason why this episode felt a little bit slow is because it mostly focused on this whole Himeno plot in the episode. There wasn't much to cut away to with this episode. There was the Himeno stuff going on in the dungeon where she's trying to find a cure for all the maids and stuff like that, and we had that going on, and that would eventually lead into sort of like the main plot with the episode where Himeno would sort of come forth and you do the Scooby-Doo thing where you find out who the real Himeno was in this episode, which was great all along. Now, the character Romain, if you haven't watched the episodes, yet, big surprise, it is Sebastian, which was something I didn't know going into the episode. And I do like the callback that we had with way back at the start of King Ohja, where you find out that Sebastian's actually in his mid-20s. And in this episode, we get the backstory of Himeno and Sebastian, how they met, where you found out that his real name was Romain Dearborn, and he committed a crime, and he was going to kill himself. But then Himeno said, why don't you live your life a new way and serve me? And then you sort of get the transformation of him turning into the old man in the episode. So you have that going on. But the thing that sort of made the ruse get discovered is because Kamijin, although he's pretending to be Himeno, he doesn't have all the memories. So that whole interaction when he first met Himeno all those years ago, he didn't know anything about that. So that was kind of like the jig is up with the character. And then when you had Himeno in the end, near the end of the episode, confronting Kamijin, where you had that big fight with all the grunts in the end, it was a pretty good fight where you had all the stunts and all the fight scenes going on in this episode, and then you get to see Himino use what seemed to be a new attack where she summoned a scythe, and it looked like she was going to get the finishing blow on Kami Jin, but that didn't seem to be the case as he got away in the end. But it did end with Himino taking back her country. But not only that, there's a nice moment between her and Sebastian at the end where she asks, do you miss being your old identity? And he says no, because he says that he's happy being Sebastian and serving Himino, which was a nice little moment in this episode. So that's one thing that I've been liking with these past 2 episodes we've been getting with the whole Take Back the Kingdoms arc, is that we're having these big character moments between the retainers and the rulers, which is something I really do dig. I am really enjoying. And as we're sort of jumping between each one of the kingdoms per week, we're going to see these great moments, as next week is Dubowski, which I'm probably going to have a lot to say about with that episode from what I know of and what I've read up on with who will be appearing in next week's episode. So there will be sort of maybe a bit of a tangent with that in next week's review. But overall, this was a really, it was a fun episode, had some fun gags in the end. Like I said, the pacing was a bit off, but it's the character moments we're getting in King Ohja that I'm really, really enjoying. It was a really nice Himino-focused episode. And if we're getting more focused episodes like this throughout the next couple of weeks, probably leading into the 40s before the Christmas break, I'm really excited. I think Rita's one, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with Mofenia, with their relationship moving forward, and what will happen between them, because I really enjoy the banter that we have between Rita and Mofenia, because Mofenia is meant to be the next in line, but they don't take the job too seriously, and stuff like that. So we're going to have that between the characters, which is something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. But this was a great Himino episode. The ending, a little bit weird, where Jeffrey the Toys R Us giraffe showed at the end, and he's handing out giraffes of himself and a muffin for Rita. That was wacky, silly fun. I was like, okay, we're just going with it. This is a weird cross-promotion, but I'll take it. It only lasted a couple of minutes, but it did lead into Dubowski wanting Rita's help and Jeremy's help to take back his own kingdom, leading into him being the focus for next week's episode. But this episode was great. I really enjoyed it. I really got a kick out of it, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next moving forward with these characters, because King Ohja has been killing it with the storytelling with its characters. So with that said, I think I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out, take care, and bye.